Very good run in a multitude of defensive positions, but out of the leadoff spot, hitting .306 for the year. You know about Rizzo and Castro, two long-term fixtures for the Cubs. Mike Holt came over from the Texas Rangers. He hit his first career grand slam last night. And of course, Jason Hamill will pitch and bat ninth.
Well, when you're facing this lineup, you've got one of the hottest pitchers in the league, of course, in Teheran, and it doesn't matter where he pitches. Home, you see the record, 1.93 ERA. Road, 1.64 ERA. Opponent's batting average, that's impressive. He's just limiting so much of contact that you have to be at this level, and he's made all kinds of adjustments.
His 4 keys to pitching success tonight. Well, number 1 would be support. And number 2 might be more run support. Just get him some runs, for crying out loud.
Hey, you got to say that right.
Hey, yeah.
Let's get him some runs.
Right. He's only had 15 runs of support in 7 starts this year. Otherwise, his record, instead of 2-2, might be 4-0.
Here's the defense for Atlanta tonight in game 1 of the series. Standard outfield alignment. You've got Justin, BJ, and Jason left to right. Ramiro Pena back in there at second base. Evan Gattis is back behind the plate. Starting pitchers, John, are creatures of habit. It may not seem like much, and maybe it's not. Does a 20-minute delay affect Teheran's preparation for this game at all? I don't think he's been delayed yet this year.
No, 20 minutes is nothing. When you start messing with the hour time frame, then you're all build up to the game. Unless you've gotten a report early, you're not going to start on time. And yes, creatures of habit. Most guys have to adjust and don't quite early in their career adjust. I know I did. I had a rule about 2 hours. I was terrible after 2-hour rain delay. But up until that point, you're just trying to kill time.
So we will get started here in just a moment. And there's the umpiring crew. Mike Winters is behind the plate. He's the crew chief. Andy Fletcher, Seth Buckminster. Haven't seen Seth umpire in the big leagues yet. Mike Michalski will be the umpire over at third base.
They call him Bucky.
Bucky?
His nickname. He likes to be called Bucky.
Well, he's going to hear it a lot, I'm sure, in this series. Here's Emilio Bonifacio. What a find this guy has been. A minor league free agent picked up by the Cubs. He's their leadoff man and batting .306. And he takes a ball high from Teheran, and we are underway. Big swing and a miss from Bonifacio. 1 ball, 1 strike. He started the year in great shape for the Cubs. He was hitting in the mid 340s, but has since slipped to 2 for his last 19. When you talk about a jack of all trades player, Bonifacio is that guy. He can play the outfield, just about any place on the infield, and has turned into a terrific leadoff guy for the Cubs with 11 stolen bases so far this year.
And he's an excellent bunter. That's why Chris Johnson's in tight. Freddie's in a few steps.
Well, when you're in transition, you're going to have a lineup that everybody else almost seems like came from somewhere else. Teams that players that didn't make it out of spring training, or for one reason or another didn't make it with that club and are given a chance here in Chicago. Rather than rush some of your young talent in the minor leagues, you wait for that to develop and you figure out the direction of your ball club, as they are trying to do in the next 2 years.
That's way upstairs. And your point's well taken. As you look at the Cubs starting 9 tonight, they have 1 player that they drafted and developed, Castro. Everybody else either was signed to a minor league contract, acquired via trade, or claimed off waivers.
Yeah, and a different team for every one of them as well. You've got Arizona, Boston, San Francisco, Toronto, Texas, and the Marlins, just to name a few in their lineup.
How about that pitch from Teheran to get Bonifacio? That was in on his hands. And Emilio is strikeout victim number 1 tonight.
Julio had a little chat with himself after missing high on 2-2 count. He was bound and determined not to walk him.
Here's one of those minor league free agents. Ryan Kalish didn't play last year. He's a former Red Sox prospect. Theo Epstein knew him while with Boston. He didn't play last year, recovering from labrum surgery.
I know that all too well.
And he takes a strike. No homers, 3 RBIs for Kalish. Something else the Cubs are doing tonight that's hard to do. Here we are, May 9th in a championship season. The Cubs outfield that starts the game tonight has a grand total of 0 home runs.
That's amazing.
That is.
Saw that and I thought it was a misprint. And one of those guys had hit 21. That's Scherholz, right?
Yeah.
He hit 21 before, and he has yet to hit a home run.
Yeah, he's off to a horrible start.
A ball and 2 strikes for Kalish. That just missed. Boy, Gaddis thought he had strike 3. Teheran maybe as well, but Mike Winters thought otherwise. 2-2.
I guess you can consider it fortunate now, having seen the different stretches the Braves have gone through, the hot start, the great pitching, and now the slide. And they have a similar offensive statistics to a team that is obviously 9 games in last place, and here the Braves are sitting only a game out of first. So I know it doesn't look good, and the trend certainly doesn't look good, but it awfully could be much worse. I mean, it really could, with the lack of runs that this pitching staff has gotten.
Well, thank goodness the starting pitching was as good as it was for the Braves. As that's taken low by Kalish. Think about some of the games the Braves lost. I mean, 1-0 games to Cliff Lee. Lost a 2-1 game, I think it was, in Milwaukee. First game of the year.
2-0.
2-0 game. Yeah, so yeah, it could be worse. Could also be a lot better. And hopefully it'll turn around tonight. As that's popped out of play. Foul. Kalish putting up a first inning fight.
And again, I found being part of a club for a long time, you go through different stretches that nobody feels worse than the guys who keep going out there and can't get it done. And there's no room for hanging heads and feeling sorry for yourself in this game, because that's the beauty of the game. Every single day you got a chance to redeem yourself, but it seems like it's repeating itself.
That's inside, and Kalish takes a walk to first, and Teheran a long look in again at Mike Winters, a 1-out walk.
Who's always had a tight zone. Box track shows it's just outside the zone, so hard to be upset with that, but there are about 3 questionable calls there, at least in Julio Teheran's eyes, and also that of Evan Gaddis.
Well, here's a big part of the Cubs' present and future. Their first baseman, Anthony Rizzo, 7 homers, 18 RBIs, .294 batting average, and an excellent eye. 23 walks this year and 22 strikeouts. Behind on a check swing strike. We've seen Rizzo for quite some time. Saw him in San Diego. He was originally a Boston Red Sox. But his game, guys, was described to me as Mark Grace with more power and less glove work defensively at first base.
Probably pretty close. I think he's gone through, and as many early players do, young players in the early part of their career, some streaks, hot, cold.
Braves are shading him a little toward left field. When we've seen him, he's hurt the Braves and beaten the Braves by going into left center.
That's foul away. No balls, 2 strikes. Cubs have him locked up through the 2020 season. And they'll turn 25 on the 8th of August. Runner goes. The pitch high. The Gaddis throw to second. Right on the money and in time. Kalish is gunned out at second base. Second time he's been caught, and 2 are out.
He almost reacted when he got like, I don't know, I'm going to stay here a while to maybe get a replay.
He was out.
Yep.
Great throw by Evan Gaddis on what was called for a high strike, or I mean a high pitch, to see if Rizzo would chase. That's not an easy pitch to throw on.
Cubs have tried to run some this year. That was their 31st stolen base attempt. They've been successful 22 times. And Tehran strikes out Rizzo to end the top of the first inning. Jason Hamill goes to work for the Cubs. No score after half inning. Freddie Gonzalez once again features the pitcher hitting 8th. Leo Tehran is the 8th place hitter. Ramiro Pena is the 9th place hitter. And Jason Hayward has had good luck against the Cubs starter. And let's not forget, the first ever hit in Jason Hayward's big league career came against these guys in dramatic fashion opening day just a few short years ago.
Well, the Braves are going to be facing a guy that's you can see having a great year so far, 4-1. And when the balls are put in play, he's only given up a 181 average. That is pretty impressive. And you look at the road, he's only given up a 141 opponent's batting average.
It's a guy who throws hard and has a good slider, but he has to have his slider working to be effective, because it doesn't matter how hard you throw in this league, they'll catch up to it. He also has good command, just 9 walks in 40 innings. He's coming off arguably his worst start of the year against St. Louis. 6 innings, 7 hits and 3 runs. That's not too bad. That's a quality start, but the worst start for him this year.
So the Braves will have their hands full if Hamill has his good stuff. And he's off to a good start with a called strike.
Yeah, when you're facing a pitcher and you look at certain numbers, your left-handers are going to have to do some damage, because right-handers have only been hitting at about a 128 clip. So that means, to your point, Joe, the slider, when it's been on, is very difficult. He's a taller guy, get great leverage. Ball gets on you quick, so when he has his off-speed pitches, right-handers are going to be in for it.
Yeah, 6'6", 225.
High fly toward right. And Schuholtz is there, and he's got it. Hayward pops out for out number 1. That'll bring up Justin Upton. Justin hitting .303, 9 homers, 19 RBIs. You know, fellas, he'd like to finish the homestand with a flourish. He has thrived so far in his home ballpark in 2014.
Braves were 5-1 against the Cubs last year, including 3-0 here at Turner Field early in the season.
I'm always interested when I was pitching and even now doing this. I look at the last 10 games because that gives you the closest trend.
I agree.
And the last 10 games have been horrible all the way around except for Mr. Upton. He's the only one hitting the 300s, 316. And so as a pitcher, you're coming into a game knowing some guys are struggling. You keep them struggling by making pitches. And then you're just hoping as a team that certain guys can start crawling out of that. But the last 9 games, Braves have been hitting 205 and scored 16 runs. So
it's been a struggle. There's no getting around it. And with Hamill and Samardzija 1-2 facing them for the Cubs in this series, it's not going to be a cakewalk even against the lowly Cubs. 2 balls and a strike. And way off the plate for a 3-1 count.
And when not everybody does this, but generally you look at a series and you go, okay, the middle guy is so and so. He's going to be tough. We really got to take game 1. Take our chances in game 2. We got a better matchup in game 3. You start looking at those series and breaking them down like that. You're facing a Cliff Lee in the middle game and you're saying, man, we really got to kind of jump on. It's just the way the nature of the game goes. That's what makes it so intriguing when you have best of 3 or 3-game series with teams.
Well, that's because that's why this first game's a big one.
Yeah.
You win the first one and then the second one against a guy, Samardzija, who he could, I mean, really, he could throw a no-hitter at you. He's that good. So win the first one, and then tomorrow you go out and do your best, and maybe you sneak one in on him too. And I'm not saying the Braves are conceding anything. I'm certainly not. I'm just saying that the first game in the series is a big one, knowing you've got some other tough pitchers to face.
Bobby had some interesting philosophies when you had chances to match up certain guys, and you would think putting your number 1 against the number 1 would be the optimum. He didn't.
The chance for Shearholtz and Wright, this time near the line. He'll get there in time for out number 2.
I thought it was interesting the more he talked to him. He's like, no. Let's let this guy go against their ace. You never know. It might be that bonus. Might really. And he always. I just found it interesting. You would think that would be the way you would go head to head, and it always worked out the way Bobby had it versus the way you go. Oh, let me lock up with that guy. Let me take that guy.
Freddie Freeman's the hitter for the Braves. His bat's coming back to life. A 3-game hitting streak for the Braves first baseman. And he's our Georgia Lottery hitting the jackpot.
Great numbers against the Cubs his last 6 games. That would be last season. 3 homers, 7 RBIs. Familiar face.
That's right, Braves fans. Hope you got to see Tom Hart's chat with former Brave Eric Hinsky, who's now the first base coach for the Cubs. Saw Eric before the game, and I just said, "What are you doing?" Yeah. And he didn't say it this way, but he was kind of intimated. Sometimes I wonder that myself. He said, coaching's a lot harder work than being a player, but Eric told me he does have dreams of someday becoming a major league manager. So he's beginning his apprenticeship at first base with the Cubs. Did Freeman go? No swing and a full count.
That'll make Rizzo mad. Rizzo's over there talking to Valbuena at second base, saying, that's the same check swing I just took. They called it a strike.
Foul. 16 pitches for Hamill here in the opening inning.
Well, just a good example of how quick Freddie is inside. That was 93 miles an hour in on the, not even the inner third. That was on the black of the inside part of the plate. He pulled it 50 yards foul.
And he takes a walk. Hamill thought that was close enough. But as Joe said, Mike Winters has a tight zone for both pitchers to start play tonight. The the Braves' first base runner, and here's the Braves catcher, Gaddis.
Neither one of these guys walk a lot of people. That's why I think you're going to see a lot of frustration on their face if they don't get some borderline pitches, because they're used to getting those calls. They know they can hit some spots, and when they don't get the call, they're going to have some stare downs.
Got any white out?
No, we can get you some.
Yeah, I might need some. Because
you got a mess working?
Well, I put K down. I thought that was a strike. Glad it wasn't.
Can I get on my soapbox for a second?
Yes, please.
Baseball wants to speed up the game. Can we please start hunting for strikes?
I'm right with you. Can I be your campaign manager?
Yeah, please. No balls and a strike for Gaddis. And he hits a liner into left. And that's going to sink in front of Kalish in left. Did a nice job to keep that ball in front of himself. Gaddis with a hit, 2 on, 2 out.
Boy, you haven't needed that too. You had a rough homestand, just 2 for 17, and a high fastball that sometimes is really the place to go to give him. But he tomahawked that one. And you're right, Jim Kalish made a nice play on this to hold him to a single.
You know, guys, when they make contact, Joe, the ball just sounds different off the bat.
Yeah.
Gaddis is one of those guys. Justin Upton's another.
Used to say that about, yeah, I agree with you. Used to say that about me and BP back in the day, but it does make a different sound.
Well, it just sounded like batting practice when you pitched on some days.
Chris Johnson's the bat. I thought it's because you used an aluminum bat. Chris, another Brave that could use some good fortune at the plate. He's 5 for his last 24.
Hit him. Oh.
Did he foul it away? Apparently so. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Head of the bat dropped down and just nicked it.
Boy, an early run would sure be nice. But 2 strikes, 2 outs. And a roller deep short. Astros slides on the wet turf. All hands are safe. Castro got there, but lost his footing. And that'll be an infield hit for Johnson. There's a break the Braves haven't seen much of on the homestand.
Yeah, you know what? No matter what happens this inning, and I hope they get a bunch and feel really good about themselves, but a close call went their way. They got a walk. Hard hit ball, rocket base hit, now an infield hit. Maybe things are looking up.
You know, with all the rain, I know the tarp is on the infield, but that's where a lot of that water gets drained off. There's a great system here in Atlanta, but his foot gave way where all the water drained off.
So B.J. Upton is the batter with the bases loaded and 2 outs. Just like that, it's 0-2.
That was his pitch. 0-1 fastball out over the plate. Now look for Hamilton to bury some off-speed pitches down. Anything going away, breaking. BJ struck out 20 times in the last 15 games.
Guys, with the numbers we've been talking about with the team struggling to hit in scoring position, that means the left on base numbers have been skyrocketed. Against San Francisco, the first series of the year of this homestand, 25 men left on base in 3 games, 21 left on base against the Cardinals.
And 3 big runners on here with a 1-2 count for Upton. And It's bounced off the plate. Foul. Will do it again.
I know it doesn't seem like much, but that 0-2 take of a real good slider was a better sign. I mean, as a pitcher, again, I always talk about the hitter gives you a place to go to. And if he continues to allows you to go to that place, it's going to be a long night for the hitter. But when he takes it away at subtleties, I know he followed it up back with a slider, but that typically was always a swing. So baby steps. I know it's not to the casual viewer much.
And Upton swung and missed the 27th pitch of the inning from Hamill. And the Braves load the bases with 2 outs and are unable to break through. We go to the second. No score. Score in Atlanta. The Braves with a 2-out rally in the first inning. Got a walk, 2 hits. Forced Hamill to throw 27 pitches, but the last one struck out B.J. Upton, and the Braves' first inning threat by the boards. John?
Yeah, well, they also had a little conversation about how he thought he struck out Freddie right here, and they both had a little chuckle about it. It says, "Are you kidding me? Come on." And Freddie walked by going, "That was a strike." I'm a professional lip reader, by the way, boys.
What am I saying?
I can't say that in air.
I was thinking the same thing.
You got to move your lips when you want to say something. You can't just give me gestures.
Here's a ventriloquist. Come on, here's Starton Castro. The Cubs shortstop has been moved around in the Chicago lineup. He's their cleanup hitter now, and he's prospered there the last 12 games. And 5 homers, 16 RBIs for the 2-time All-Star.
His counterpart's fallen on some really hard times in Barney.
Darwin.
I mean, those two were a few years ago. You know, you look to them as the cornerstone, really, of the infield. He's not had a good start to this season.
Two balls and a strike. To third. Ball stayed down for Chris, but he stayed with it. Makes the play. Castro's retired. And there's out number 1.
Now, Barney's problems really started last year. 141 games. He only hit .208. And it's been a continuation into this season for Darwin, who's now only hitting a .127.
Yeah. He's a really good glove man, but I don't know if your glove's ever good enough to overcome a 127 average. Here's Schierholtz, the former Giant and Philly. He had a good year for the Cubs last year. 462 big league at bats, far and away the most he's ever had in the big leagues, and he hit 21 homers.
John was talking about what a steal it was for the Cubs to get Hamill. Well, last year I thought their steal was this guy. I thought giving him enough at bats to justify playing every day. He showed what he could do, and that there would be a couple of organizations sorry they'd let him go.
But he's another guy I would think, fellas, at the deadline might bring a hefty return for Chicago.
Good outfielder, really good arm. And if he finds his stroke, yeah, he could have a lot of value.
Well, a lot of clubs have to deal with what I'm about to say, but not to the same degree as Chicago, Minnesota. The weather has not been very good in these parts of the country, and of course I think it's a little bit of myth. Maybe you can help me, Chip. You've been there and seen it. The wind doesn't always blow out at Wrigley Field.
No, it's in or across 65-70% of the time.
It's magnified that when it does blow out, you get your Colorado type scores. But these guys early on, it's hard to get in rhythm. You know, it's hard to get some of those young guys who are trying to get established. And their manager was talking about the subtleties and the improvements and the work that they're doing in batting practice with soft toss, some of the patience that they're trying to give their young players. So they're measuring their success certainly not by wins and losses, but as stages during the year. This young player went to this level or did this better, and that's how they can judge it to see if the future holds these guys to be part of their process.
But as you know, that's got to be maybe the biggest disadvantage the Cubs have. As Schierholtz is down swinging. It's one thing to say your team's rebuilding. The Cubs are essentially saying that. The disadvantage they have is they've been rebuilding since 1908. So how long do you get to play that card with a very patient fan base?
Well, and that's an interesting point, because up until recently, I would say it's been a fan base that always showed up no matter what happened.
Yeah.
And now it's a little different. And now, you know, new ownership and the really is the consensus is that they really do want to win. You know, I know that sounds weird to say, but when you're drawing a lot of fans and you're getting close and you're still drawing a lot of fans, you know, that's why they brought in the general manager that they did. That's why they're trying to get to the point where they don't want to be in this rebuilding process, to your point, any longer.
And I would contend that, with all due respect to previous ownership groups, the Wrigley family, when they owned it, the Tribune Company, it's got to be awfully difficult to be in the general manager or president's office of a ball club trying to fix 100 years of problems in a 3, 4, 5 year span of time, considering the short attention span that the modern world offers these days. It's going to take time, and even if it does take time, there's no guarantee it's going to be successful. As Luis Valbuena drives one to center, and B.J. Upton lost it for a second, then found the baseball and made the play to retire the side. Andrelton Simmons, Julio Teheran will get things started for Atlanta in inning number 2. Still no score. And Ramiro Pena coming up for the Braves. Friday Night Baseball on Fox Sports South is brought to you by Blimpie. Our apologies for the late start tonight, but an 18-minute rain delay got tonight's game going at 7:50 Eastern Time. Still a good crowd gathering for the Braves and Cubs, and fireworks, weather permitting, after the game. Here's Simmons. Andrelton's hitting .273, 3 homers, 7 runs batted in. Bouncer past Mike Olt, the Chicago third baseman. 1 ball, 1 strike.
You said something a minute ago, Chip. I wanted to ask you about with respect to the Cubs. It was you said it's not easy to fix 108 years worth of problems.
Fly ball center, and that's playable for Bonifacio. He's got it, 1 out.
Why is it looked at it? Why do people look at it that way? Even Cub fans, why do they consider it that way? It hasn't taken them, well, in my head, it's certainly not 108 years to get to this point. That's been an ongoing problem. Why isn't it a 2, 3, 4-year turnaround that's been ongoing?
That I can't answer. I guess the gauge is they see other teams winning championships, and in Chicago it's a championship-starved town ever since the Bulls did what they did. I mean, the Blackhawks are very successful now. Heck, the White Sox, their arch rivals, have a championship in recent memory. And it hasn't been total failure. I mean, when Lou Piniella was the manager, the Cubs won the division, but were wiped out in the first round of the playoffs, which frustrated a lot of fans. They go back to 2003 in the Bartman game with the Marlins, for example. But they want to win championships. And it was my perception when I was there that the Cubs would never, ever have a plan that they could stick to long enough to see if it would bear fruit. They would sign free agents, lose draft picks, draft the same kind of players, big sluggers, to hit the ball out in Wrigley Field, and not have pitching to support it. As Tehran rolls one back to the mound for the second out. And so for the fans, the old joke was, in Chicago, are the Cubs going to win a championship in my lifetime? The punchline was, well, how long are you going to live in?
Well, but I think you answered my question, and that is, it hasn't been a 108-year-old problem. They've been to the postseason. They've had a couple of weird things happen to them, prevented them from getting to the World Series. But it's almost, it seems more like an issue of sustaining.
That's it. There's never been sustained success. Win, collapse, break it apart, new manager, new management, and start over again. And so, yeah, I think that's probably the best way of putting it. They are trying to follow, if you will, maybe the Braves model, in that draft, develop, sign internationally, and create a consistent pipeline of minor league talent so that when they have a chance to get good, they'll be good for a long period of time. Whether that works or not obviously remains to be seen. But that process for Cubs fans has been very painful to watch. Ramiro Pena with 2 outs and 2 strikes. And another comebacker. Hamill had a rough first, but breezes through the second in order. And he's due up in the third for Chicago. No score. Hopefully that'll be the case for the Braves, who are scoreless with the Cubs after 2 innings. Fans, you can get 33% off food and concessions at Turner Field when you buy a 2014 Braves season ticket package. Get it for as low as $183. Go to Braves.com/season tickets or call 404-577-9100.
Well, the only thing I can add to that conversation, Joe, is that nobody's in their category. Nobody's even close. And when no one's close, you can keep talking about it. Boston eliminated that by winning, and look what they've done. And that's what the Cubs fans want to say. All right, once we break the curse, let's run a few off, or let's break it in the right way. But no one's in their category.
And let's be honest, just like we've said about the New York Mets in our division, when the Cubs are good, it's good for baseball. This is an iconic franchise, and when the crowds are packing Wrigley Field and the Cubs are competitive in the Central and fighting it out with the Cardinals and the Brewers and the Reds, and that's good for the game. And they're hoping the man in the batter's box will be part of that resurgence for years to come. His name's Mike Olt. He was the centerpiece in the deal that sent Matt Garza to Texas last year.
He's a guy that was high on the Texas prospect list. A lot of power. Good hitting corner infielder. But he just couldn't translate it to the big leagues. His numbers with Texas couldn't keep him in the lineup for an extended period of time. The Cubs are willing to give him a lot of at-bats to see if he can get it working here at this level.
I don't like the way baseball has set it up personally by making those last-minute under-the-wire moves, but are the moves for these kind of clubs that have to work. When you make those moves to help another ball club with one of your stud pitchers at the time, or better pitchers.
There's a high drive toward left center field and deep. Upton will not get there. Mike Olt has homered for the second straight game for the Cubs, and his solo shot puts him in front here in the third inning by a 1-0 score.
Quick hands in that swing.
That's the 7th home run allowed by Tehran.
Most home runs among rookies. He's the guy. Yeah, Julio gave up 3 against the Giants when he got beat 3-1. 3 solo shots.
The only thing that Julio does a little bit that gets him in trouble at times is gets underneath his fastball. When he stays right where he's been most of the year, you're not going to see that ball travel like that. And it really is just a tiny flaw that he's been able to not repeat as much as he did last year as young pitchers learn their mechanics. And really it's the backside. That's the adjustment he made with his feet in the middle of the rubber. He doesn't get underneath. The ball doesn't sail or flatten, and it stays on plane. Of course, that at bat he got behind, and the 3-1 pitch was hit out of the park.
John Baker is the Cubs catcher tonight, and behind in the count, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
The greatest pitching coach is going to be yourself. And what I mean by that is you have to learn how to make in-game adjustments so that you don't have to have 5 pitching coach trips out to the mound. So once you learn, and it takes you a while, you become your own best pitching coach. And it has to be simple. It can't be 6 things. You got to find things, a couple things that work that you need to go to when you get out of kilter.
Baker's the 8th place hitter. 1 ball, 2 strikes to him.
You might remember him from the Florida Marlins at that time when he played with them. And you can see that right elbow braced and really padded. He suffered a Tommy John type injury that required Tommy John surgery even as a catcher. Caused him to miss a lot of the 2011 season.
That's well hit to right. Hayward back and on the track, gets there for the first out.
Well, mentioned the Tommy John injury. I was part of a panel this past week. Great roundtable discussion about the Tommy John's injuries and the future of baseball and how it's going with all youth baseball and really the rash of injuries that we're having. It's an epidemic that's becoming ridiculously. The greatest surgery shouldn't be being performed as many times as it is.
Any conclusions come from that panel?
Well, it's going to air tomorrow, actually. I learned something. It's going to air on the MLB Network at 4. But I really learned some things that I had thought I had known with the years of pitching. And one of the things that I learned was that the kids are obviously pitching too much too early. They're not throwing enough. They're pitching too much. And there's a difference. But I learned that flat ground pitching for young kids would be a lot better for their arms than pitching off the angle of the mound. The pounds of pressure per foot of elevation just doesn't allow the arm to adapt. Like throwing's natural.
Interesting.
So flat ground, that's natural, more natural for the arm. Well, once you get, the higher you start getting with that slope, the more stress you're putting on that ligament in your arm.
Hamill pops one up, and Freddie Freeman at first is going to make the catch. 2 out.
So one of the
Never
thoughts,
heard that before.
One of the thoughts were, you know, the younger kids can't develop or not giving their body a chance to mature and grow and develop with the amount of throwing they're doing on a mound. So kind of back them off the mound and graduate towards the mound the older they get would make sense. And that's coming from the doctor and Tom House. And it made sense once I heard it, because I was advocating that in the big leagues, the more I could get off the mound, the better. I never threw flat ground because I didn't want it to mess with my release point. But what he said makes a lot of sense for the young kids, and the business of baseball and youth baseball is a big one. They don't want to hear some of the stuff that's going to be coming out of this discussion because they're making a lot of money. And the parents are misguided because they're just doing what they think is best for their kids and following the generation of what you do when you think you have a child that's got a chance to play college or pro ball.
I have to tell you how many parents that told me the same thing. Well, they've got to play basically year round, otherwise scouts won't see them.
I
said at 13.
Yeah, it really isn't. And doctors have been screaming this really for a while, and no one's really listening because of the great surgeon that performed Tommy John. Everyone thinks, oh, it's like, oh, you're going to be better. You got a new arm. So any doubt, let's just do it. Let's just eliminate it. Got a new arm. You're going to throw harder. All of that couldn't be farther from the truth. And I thought it was a great discussion. 2 hours of content with some really, detailed discussion from Dr. Andrews and Dr. Alchek. It was pretty. I learned a lot.
Swing and miss. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
And I'm just of the mindset. You guys know me well enough. I think a lot outside the box, but I'm not. Status quo is not good enough for me. And just because the theories of baseball, and just because we're specialized in baseball, and statistically it's harder to hit than it ever has because of specialized pitching, doesn't stop the fact that I want to see these young pitchers pitch longer than they're headed to right now.
Teheran strikes out Bonifacio, but not before Mike Holt homered. Not for the 2nd straight game, the 3rd straight game. I shortchanged him. It's 1-0 Chicago as you see our Delta Airlines on deck trio coming up in the Braves 3rd. Top of the Braves order is up. Hayward, Justin Upton, and Freddie Freeman. Hamill has a lead. Let's see what Hayward does. He popped out his first and only time up. And is behind the count of strike. There's a man that Hayward has enjoyed facing. It has been Jason Hamill. He came in 6 for 8 against the Cubs right-hander in his big league career.
Coming into this game, Jason Hamill is one of the best I've seen with 2 strikes. 103 average. When he gets 2 strikes on the hitter hits 103. That's just 2. That's any count, 2 strikes. That's not 0-2, 1-2. I mean, that's a lot of options to get 2 strikes.
When you're 4-1 for a club that's 12-21, you're doing a lot of things right.
You know, in fairness to the Cubs, they've had a lot of good pitched games. They've been close, like a lot of teams, even the Astros, as bad as they were last year, close all the way. They just couldn't win those close games. They didn't have the weapons.
That ball bounced in front of the plate, and Hayward swung over the top and missed it by a foot. He struck out, and that's the second strikeout for Hamill. 1 down in the 3rd.
You're going to have some batting averages in that neighborhood. People are going to be swinging balls 5 feet in front of the plate.
Yeah, it's a little unusual here. That easily could be one of the shortest strikeout pitches I've seen from. Just going to attack a fastball that never even comes close, and he could have hit it on the bounce. That would have counted.
Here's Justin. He popped out to right. Isn't that, though, John, usually the last step that a club makes? Just in the case of Houston, they're slowly adding talent from the minor leagues, taking their lumps at the big league level. It's learning how to win those close games that starts to separate them from the also-rans in the game. Bonifacio in center. There's that high drive from Upton to out.
Yeah, but you know, and a lot of organizations have a lot of different philosophies. Some that I just could not grasp or agree with. But I think if you're those teams, if you're the Cubs, let's say, and the Astros, you got to find yourself a lockdown closer, because those games you have a chance to win, you got to win. That helps. And I would think on a team that's not going to win a lot of games, that would be one of the most valuable positions, and one that you as a closer know, hey, if I'm going to pitch, they're going to be important. And I may not pitch as much as I would on the Yankees, but I would almost do a little differently and make sure that area I could find that diamond in the rough, or go get a veteran guy that maybe is on the outs that could still get it done.
That's something our colleague Al Raboski said and has said before. If you're on a team that's probably going to win 54 or 55 games, you want to make sure you have the best chance to close those out, because it's already a devastating season as it stands. And you let 10 or 15 games get away because you can't seal the deal in the 9th. I mean, that'll totally rip your club apart.
Houston's given a pass because they're changing leagues, and that's significant, because a National League team has to have a whole different roster going to the American League style. And so they're having to figure out everything. They're not just rebuilding a couple things. They're rebuilding the whole roster because of the DH, the American League style of play, which is so different than National League. But again, I'm big on philosophies of how you're trying to value players, and it seems like
there's a liner by Freeman that had some hook to it. Smacked it over Castro's head into center field. He's got a 2-out single and is aboard for the second time tonight.
They seem to be like the model for sabermetrics. That would be my sabermetrics right there. Just watch this guy hit.
Yeah.
that explains it all.
Just keep getting reruns on loops and just watch over and over different pitch locations and approach.
And in the case of Freeman, SABR stands for Smart Atlanta Baseball Rippers. Here's Gaddis. He singled his first time up. That's taken out. 1 ball, no strikes.
But to quantify what I'm saying, I mean, I'm not discounting it. But to go all in and not let your eyes and baseball intellect have some say, or combination of both, you really run the risk of playing this game like Stratomatic. You just can't do that.
That's what you can't discount the input of scouts and people who are seeing, laying their eyes on people. You cannot quantify range, and I don't care what kind of graphs and defensive metrics they have set up. If you can't see where the guy was positioned and how far he actually went for a ball, you can't do that in general setups for ballparks and say it works every time.
The computer doesn't know if there's a death in the family, if a child is sick, or there's trouble at home.
I'm not even going there. I'm going with setup. Where was the ball hit? How hard was it hit? How far do you have to go to get it?
Freeman's running. Gaddis is swinging, and it's a hit to left. The Braves will have runners at first and third with 2 outs.
And again, starting a rally with 2 out. Looked like he tomahawked another one.
Yeah, those are the only 2 balls it looks like that Hamill has thrown up has been to the wrong guy.
How does he do that? Collarbone high, and he pulled it.
He hasn't been. That's why they're going up there. But if you stay back, if you don't let your upper body go forward, then you've got a chance to throw your hands and get on top of that pitch and level off on it. And I don't believe there was any stride at all involved in that swing.
So, Joe, you're right. It's another 2-out rally for the Braves. Chris Johnson's the hitter. He reached on an infield hit. Ball was hit to short. Castro gloved it, but slipped and fell on the wet grass. And Baker knocked it down to keep Freeman at third, but he was unable to keep Gaddis from moving up to second base. That's a wild pitch.
Tried to throw a slider to the outside part of the plate, just pulled it just a hair.
Let's see how carefully they pitch Chris Johnson. You've got B.J. Upton on deck. Cubs 1, Braves nothing, 2 outs.
Can't see the signs. See Baker getting some chalk on his fingers.
You know, I don't know what it is, but it seems a lot of people have that problem. From the mound to the catcher, I used to always have the catcher put white out on his fingernails. You just can't see him. It's a little bit less light in that area for whatever reason. Always had to have somebody.
It's not just Turner Field, but it's always been a problem here because there's no lights in the outfield to shine in. See the shadow there on his signs? Hard to see. He looks like he's got them.
He put the chalk on his fingers.
What, are the fingernails painted too?
I thought they
just
were.
Chalk.
They might be, but he went down to the batter's box and tried to. Painted as well. This is chalk.
1 ball, 1 strike for Chris.
Base hit to left field.
High score Freeman. Gaddis around third. He's going to get the green light. Throw to the plate is up the line. Chris Johnson with a 2-out hit. Puts the Braves in front.
Chris likes to go inside out and hit the ball the other way, but every once in a while he'll ambush you and turn on a pitch. Big hit for Atlanta's offense right there.
So 3 straight singles with 2 outs. Braves now lead 2-1, and B.J. Upton the batter.
The wild pitch came into play, allowed another run to score.
Almost Freddie Freeman's twice has been running and stealing his first 2 times at first base. He must not be paying attention to him.
That ball is smacked towards center. Bonifacio is back and gets there to retire the side. 2 runs on 3 hits. Chris Johnson with a pitch to hit. He rifled it into left and brought home 2. Braves have their first lead. Two-run single a moment ago puts the Braves up here in the 4th inning. If you always wanted to meet a Braves player, well, now's your chance. On cue, you can meet and greet Chris Johnson when the Braves take on the Rockies Sunday, May 25th. Reserve your spot today at Braves.com/VIP. Here's a VIP too. A very inquisitive person, I am sure, here at Tampa Field.
If you're Julio Teheran, you have only had the lead for 12 innings this year. 12. He's had a pretty good ERA once he's got the lead. 1.5 ERA. Even better ERA when he's behind, which happens a little bit more than he wanted to. A 0.59 ERA. So he's constantly pitching in these close games. He'd like to ride this out with about 6 more innings of the lead.
Coming into play tonight, Teheran 7 for 7 in quality starts. The Braves have won 5 of his first 7 games. He, though, 2-2. And high to Kalish, 1 ball 2 strikes. Kalish, Rizzo, and Castro in the Cubs' 4th. Play. 1 ball 2 strikes. If you're a scoreboard watcher, it'll be a late night tonight. Miami's in San Diego for game 2 of their series with the Padres. Washington's in Oakland. Both of those games start after 10 o'clock Eastern time. Ground ball towards second. Pena to his right, scoops and fires, and Kalish is out number 1. Miami leads the division by a half game over Washington. The Braves in 3rd place, 1 game back. Washington will get Doug Fister in rotation tonight. He will make his first start against Tommy Malone. That game is in Oakland. And the Marlins visit San Diego. Fernandez and Ross will hook up. Giancarlo Stanton, by the way, provided the margin of victory last night. He hit an 11th inning homer.
See the homer?
Oh, like you used to hit him.
Flicked it over center field, which is a normal center field.
Out there in that sandbox. Just a laser.
11 homers and 40 RBIs for Giancarlo Stanton, and for the Marlins, who are beginning a long road trip, that was a huge win. Only won 3 road games all year. But they're in first place at 20-15.
There's a lot of parks. When you play that long, you remember certain things, you know, about each park. And what I remember about San Diego would not be your typical thing that you would think, but that was where my famous drop, stop, and roll play between first and the pitcher's mound, of which it was an in-between ball that I fielded.
Pop toward left. Upton is under it. And continue if you want, John.
Julio Franco was playing first at the time, and I was yelling, I got it, I got it. I should have said, yo tango, yo tango. And he was right there, and I was right there, and I fielded it with no one at first. And I decided, as I was losing balance, to just fall and roll to first base. And as I rolled and reached for the bag, I was nowhere near the bag, of course. The runner slid in head first. And I got abused for about a week, and the fire department using that in their drop, stop, and roll video. Because,
yeah.
But I mean, it was ugly. The hat fell off.
Help me, Tom Cruise.
Oh, it was bad.
Do you miss stuff like that?
Oh, like you don't know.
Because
they played it on the charter on the way home.
Yes, they did.
Like part of the emergency.
Yeah, it was, and of course, it looked funny when I got a chance to see it. It hurt. I think I ended up cracking like a rib or something. I bruised my ribs, but all to make an out. You know, it was a tight game. I was thinking I can do this. Didn't work.
We're going to have to try to find that video somehow, some way. 2-1 Atlanta. Good shutdown inning for Toronto.
Celebrating 50 years.
I don't get it.
Did you figure it out yet?
Help me.
Amtrain. Amtrak. Subway, L train, Hamel.
Ham L. There you go. That's not quite as well. I take that back. That's more creative than the Shawnometer they used to have up in left field for Sean Winston. Ham L. Anderson Simmons grounds towards second. He's the first out.
John, I see pitchers like, I mean, I see their arm actions like Hamill, and I like guys like this. I like guys' arm actions like this because they look like it's a little bit of a long action, but it's loose and free. It really has a good finish on his pitches.
Yeah, as long as they're able to stay back. I think his knee issue, he came back from a knee issue in Baltimore, and that was a little bit of the problem that he was facing. And I thought he did an unbelievable. He hadn't pitched in months, and pitched down the stretch for the Orioles when they were in the playoff stretch run there, and didn't get into the playoffs. So I think it's a blessing, and sometimes it can be a curse if you don't allow your body. If his body moves too quick forward.
Teheran slaps one toward right, but Shearholtz had him played well. 2 down.
Then that long arm action actually works against him. But his delivery,
his body moves forward too fast.
Right.
Because it drags then.
Correct. And I think that's the one thing, you know, taller pitchers have more leverage, they have better angles, and they can use it if they pitch tall. And to pitch tall, you got to stand tall and you got to have balance. Sometimes we call it the air goes out of your rear end. You kind of drop down a little bit, and that allows that arm angle and that arm to drag. So that's the one thing. I know. I can't look at him when I'm talking. Got the giggles. Well, it's the truth. Your air goes out. You know, it's just
okay.
like,
Don't go back there.
You drop your backside is what I'm trying to say.
Is Joe thinking about an SNL skit right now? Yeah.
As Pena bats. It rolls and foul.
I love Romero, but he needs to ground out real fast.
Braves 2, Cubs 1.
Got hot in here real quick.
Funny how that happens. And downstairs, it's 1-2.
Okay, now you can get a base hit.
Braves have 5 hits tonight. Cubs have 1. That was the Olt homer. And a swing and a miss, and that'll retire the side. 3 up, 3 down in the Braves' 4th. Cubs come up for the 5th. 2-1 game.
Telecast is presented by authority of the Atlanta Braves and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Atlanta Braves.
2-1. Braves lead the Cubs. Julio Teheran pitching a beauty tonight. One mistake. That was the homer to Alt. But the Atlanta offense, with all 5 of their hits coming with 2 outs, to give Teheran the lead.
There's at least one that's left.
I gotta be careful what I say from now on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A little late. As Nate Shearholtz goes to work. Teheran has sit down the last 6. Cubs in order. That's out of play foul. It's 1-2. And that's high. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Last year, we talked about Teheran. There's 2 terminologies: arm side, glove side. When a guy's good to his arm side, for him, that's going to be away to a lefty, into a righty. When he's good to his glove side, obviously that's the opposite. He's made a much better adjustment to the arm side. Right there.
That guy, Shearholtz, 85-mile-an-hour pitch, struck him out. And that's Teheran's 6th strikeout tonight.
And the way to do this is obviously making those adjustments, staying right there on line with where the glove is. I was a glove side guy. My ball cut. I like the outside part to a right-hander. That's where I wanted to live. It was harder for me to throw the ball in because it cut. Last year, Julio had more of the opposite. He had that 2-seamer that kind of floated, that moved. So the home runs from time to time this year are going to be no big deal. I mean, I know we talked about last start, 3 of them ended up beating him, but his fastball is going to be more of a power fastball now. It's not going to be one of those sinkers, the ground ball type pitcher.
Well, we've seen Teheran pitch for the Braves the last couple of years. I think we're all guilty of forgetting he's 23 years of age.
Right.
You're speaking of pitching wisdom that you accrued over a career we think is going to take you to the Hall of Fame. When you were 23, did you have this guy's knowledge of pitching and command of stuff?
No, I had 2 pitches. That's it. And I was learning how to command one of them, or both of them, actually. I had a fastball slider. Admittedly, openly admit, I don't know why they swung at the slider. I just kept throwing it. But over time, learned how to place it, learned on each side of the plate, learned the mechanics of my body. And this guy's, his learning curve has been incredible for me to watch in a short period of time. And his willingness to change. That's the one thing that I don't think a lot of people realize. It's not that easy.
One ball, 2 strikes for Valbuena. Well, Teheran's ascendancy into rotation for the Braves wasn't as easy as I think everyone thought it was going to be. Remember, in 2011, he went 15-3 at Gwinnett. Was 1-1 in 3 starts with the Braves that year. Didn't make the club in 2012. Went back to Gwinnett and really struggled. As Valbuena drives one to left, and that's caught by Upton. Somehow, some way, the #1 pitching prospect in Major League Baseball 2 years in a row was 2 games under 500 with an ERA over 5 at AAA. So something wasn't working.
No, and that's what I'm talking about. I mean, that he was on the first base side of the rubber, almost trying to not pitch like Greg Maddux, but have that kind of repertoire in it. And I always felt like his fastball had better life to it. And it was hard to have that kind of life when you're pitching on the other side, trying to sink it in, trying to have those front door sinkers to a left-hander and leaving it over the plate and not being able. More importantly, everyone talked to me and asked me about his slider because it was one of his best pitches. Well, from the first base side of the mound, it's harder to throw that slider on a consistent basis. Now, moreover, in the middle of the rubber, he can do those things more consistently. So I know Roger McDowell's worked with him. They worked with him last year. And to trust that you can do that in a big league season when your team's qualifying or trying to play in the postseason, good luck. I mean, that's a lot of guts, and it's working right now for Julio.
Missed outside to Olds, 2 balls and a strike.
That was a good pitch. May not have been a strike, but it was really a good pitch to a guy that hit a homer off of him last time.
And that's the result he wanted.
Yeah, and that's what I'm to make my point. That pitch right there, you can almost at times tell the hitter it's coming. It stayed right. The height didn't vary. It didn't move one way or the other off the plate. It stayed right on the inside part of the plate. Great pitch again.
Oh, that got the bare hand and arm of Evan Gattis.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Swing and a miss. Oates is retired. And Teheran exacts a little revenge on the Cub third baseman. That's his 7th strikeout. And he protects a 2-1 Atlanta lead. Home 5th. Good ball game tonight, as you see on our Blimpie game summary.
Low scoring affair, as you would expect, with these two teams both struggling to score, and with 2 pitchers who are on their game. But the Braves have come back after giving up that homer in the 3rd inning. The Braves came back with 2 in their half of the 3rd. Top of the order up to hopefully do some more damage and give Teheran some breathing room.
Yeah, a little insurance never hurt.
As Hayward, Upton, and Freeman are coming up against Jason Hamill. And he missed outside. 1 ball, no strikes.
Well, when you're struggling to score runs, to do it with 2 outs and nobody on, that'll uplift a club big time. Almost did it twice. They left the boat, nobody on, or bases loaded, 2 outs, and didn't score, but then came back and followed it up.
Hayward drives one to right. Shearholtz is going to catch it shy of the track. He's got it for out number 1. Guys, in your playing days, how far ahead did you look at the schedule? Was it game to game, week to week, homestand to homestand? How far ahead did you
Well, they're going to laugh when I tell you this, but why not? You laugh every time because I say so.
Oh, no.
In all seriousness, I obviously was looking at who I was pitching against, but when I wasn't looking at who I was pitching against, I looked at the schedule to see where I was going to set the tee times up for the next road trip. That was a big part of, making life
fun. Okay. Joe?
About a week.
The reason I ask is considering the struggles the Braves have had over their last 8-9 ball games. If you look at the Braves schedule coming up after this series, the rest of the month of May and on into June is not at all an easy stretch for this Braves ball club. I know we have a lot of baseball left, but I don't know if it's too big a stretch to say that this is a critical part of the season for Atlanta. After the series with the Cubs, who again come in at 12-21. Here's who the Braves have next on the schedule. On the road in San Francisco and St. Louis, home to a terrific Milwaukee club, home to Colorado, which is bashing the baseball everywhere, home and away with Boston, 3 at Miami, home to Seattle, and then on the road to Arizona and 4 with Colorado.
And the danger of that, from a player's standpoint, much like when the NFL schedule comes out, you can pretty much tell your own team how many games they're going to win. You never know what state that club's going to be in when you get there. So Miami has changed in a drastic way, 2 ways already. They went through and they lost 7 in a row after winning a few. So you never know, and you don't know the matchups of pitchers you're going to get. But I hear what you're saying. Everybody does it. Players will do it if they won't admit it, but they'll look, oh man, we got this. Let me see if that guy's pitching. Let me see who we match up here.
If we were playing a team separated by only 1 series or 2 series, like St. Louis, the Braves just got finished with St. Louis, and they saw Wainwright, I'd want to know, knowing that they're going to see St. Louis this time next week, is there a chance we're going to see him again? And that's what I'd want to know, and looks like they will.
Fly ball shallow right. Valbuena drifts out at second. He's going to get there, and that's the second out of the inning.
And as a pitcher, I hated the back-to-backs, meaning
same team.
Yeah, I hated it. I really did. It didn't matter if I had pitched a 2-hitter or given up 6 runs, 7 runs. I just, there was something different about facing a different team, and the familiarity of, because I sometimes got caught in, if I did have success, do I just stay with it until they make me change? I just didn't like the back-to-backs, and you don't have them a lot, but when you do, like Alex Wood had Jose Fernandez twice in a row. That's a hang with him, if he's on his game. But I like it when you're able to play and space the teams out a little bit better.
Here we go again with 2 out, nobody on with this part of the lineup. The next 3 guys are 5 for 5 with a walk. No one else in the lineup has been on base.
Downstairs for Freeman. He didn't like that pitch. 2 balls and a strike. Good to see Freddie swinging the bat much more effectively. Better results. 4-game hit streak for him now. 6 hits in his last 12 at bats. And it's not coincidental when Freeman had the eye trouble and the batting average plummeted, so did the Braves' offensive output.
I said something to Freddie about that with respect to this being a real heavy pollen season here and how it can affect everybody, even people who don't have allergies. And I said, last year you seemed to get off to a good start. He goes, yeah, but remember?
Right back where it came from, and Hamill skipped the rope. Good thing he did, too. Otherwise, that would have been a shin burger.
He said, remember last year I was on the disabled list with my oblique, so I wasn't playing through all this pollen season.
And the Braves' 3rd inning rally with 2 outs as our Home Depot tools from the dugout.
Something the Braves have not been able to do, and that's put some hits together, back to back to back. Wild pitch factored in there, too, to get gas in score position.
Speak of the devil, here is Evan. 2 for 2 tonight. Guys, the pitch he was swinging and missing is the pitch he's swinging and hitting tonight.
Yeah, and if you're having a pitching philosophy, it's time to abort it and change the way you're going to get him out. Everybody comes in with a game plan, and sometimes the hitters make you change your game plan.
Cubs pitching coach is Chris Bosio, longtime Major League hurler.
He better throw over there.
Gotta hold him now.
He's run twice.
One ball, no strikes. And Gaddis was off stride and popped it towards second. Buena drifts out and makes the two-handed catch. And that retires the side. On we go to the 6th. Julio Teheran has set down 9 straight Cubs. Leads by a run.
Welcome the Cubs to town. They also welcome old friend Eric Hinske back to town. He's now with the Cubs on their coaching staff as the first base coach. This followed a stint with the Diamondbacks last season, and who can forget Eric Hinske's career as an Atlanta Brave, part of 12 seasons in the major leagues. He went to 3 consecutive World Series before coming over to Atlanta, where he was a beloved teammate, came up with some monster hits. He spent time catching up with former teammates today. Told me this afternoon he spent an hour in the weight room chatting with Freddie Freeman. He's also responsible for one getting away. Guys, he originally was with the Yankees in the offseason. He spent about a month with them as a scout. One of his duties was to be in daily contact with Brian McCann to sell him on the idea of coming to New York and taking that bat into Yankee Stadium. Hinske succeeded there, and then he succeeded in landing his first ever major league coaching job.
Smart on the part of the Yankees. A recruiter.
This is John Baker. He'll lead off the 6th for the Cubs. Eric Hinske was a very popular man in that clubhouse with this Braves organization. Big hits. We showed you some of those earlier. Veteran guy who's been on a lot of really good ball clubs, including here with the Braves. As Baker sends one to right that Hayward nearly misjudged. Good recovery by Jason. And that's the 10th straight Cubs set down by Teheran. 1 down.
2 hard hit balls by Baker out that way too. Now between Hinske and David Ross, 2 guys had a pretty heavy hand on things that were going on in the clubhouse.
And Eric, who again had a very productive and well compensated major league career, as Hamill pops one foul out of play. I'm glad that players of the so-called modern era are willing to go back and put the uniform on and get back into the coaching side of things. Give some of that knowledge back. Eric keeps his home in the Metro Phoenix area. Cubs train in Mesa, so he gets a extra month of his life back in the offseason, as it were.
That's a big part right there. That's
8 strikeouts for Tehran as Hamill's down. That's 11 straight. Tom, you have more on Hinske as a coach?
Yeah, this was his goal, was to get into coaching. That brief stint he had with the Yankees as a scout. Theo Epstein finally called him up in the offseason to talk about the position. He said, when I got offered the job, it almost felt like I made the club.
I'll bet, you know, because that doesn't happen too often for a guy who's first year out of playing, getting a major league job. So you're very fortunate that way.
But I think the only way that you end up doing that after playing that long is he's got to have aspirations of wanting to manage, because putting your time in, and I wouldn't say he wants to just stay as the first base coach.
No, and he has said that, but that's what I'm saying. Most guys either take a year off, you know, even 2 years off, family type thing, and then start cranking it back up again. But he's fortunate, if he does want to manage, and he says he does, to be able to go right into a major league coaching job.
Yeah, I was thinking he could become the hitting coach in Lansing or Williamsport or something like that. But remember, Hinske played for the Red Sox over parts of 2 seasons when Theo Epstein was general manager there and knew of his leadership abilities.
Yeah, that speaks highly to his character and his influence.
Bonifacio can run, but not outrun the arm of Andrelton Simmons. An 8-pitch inning for Julio Tehran, who has set down 12 straight Cubs tonight, and he's allowed just 1 hit. 2-1, Atlanta the lead. Home 6th coming up. Hugs almost as much as he likes winning games, and Atlanta's doing that tonight in Game 1 against the Cubs. 1-0, or excuse me, 2-1 is the score. It was a 1-0 Chicago lead before Chris Johnson's 2 RBI hit third turned the game around. And Chris starts the Atlanta 6th. Chris is 2 for 2. So his average, fellas, is starting to climb up a bit. He's up to 258. He started the night at 246.
What he did last year, Joe, was pretty remarkable. And he stayed in it pretty much all year, you know, to the end, right there with the batting title in his reach.
He didn't have a bad September. I think he hit 280 in September, but it was just enough of a drop off from where he'd been all year to allow Kadire to kind of, I don't want to say sneak in, because Michael Kadire had a great year too. But Kadire climbed above him just in September.
Swing and a miss by Chris Johnson. He's down on strikes. And that is strikeout number 4 for Mr. Hamill tonight. So the bases are empty. Time for our AT&T Uverse trivia question. Emilio Bonifacio is 3rd in the league with 11 steals. Name the last Cub to lead the National League in stolen bases in a single season.
Oh, I always got to go with what first pops into my head, and it probably is about 70% wrong. But I'm going to go with Jerome Walton.
Okay, it's a good guess. I don't think that's right.
Are you going to have to recuse yourself,
No.
Mr. Carey?
I think I know the answer, but I'll wait and see who you pick because we can spread it around.
Okay.
BJ Upton, the batter. And he's 0 for 2 tonight.
Well, you may have to wait a while because I'm stumped. Work.
It's downstairs. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Probably going to be a little more recent than the guess that I gave.
I don't know. I like that one.
I can help you out. Sarge Matthews is not going to be the answer.
That really helped things.
Hope the Sarge is watching tonight. 2 balls, 2 strikes. It wasn't Andre Dawson.
Does it start? Both names start with 2 vowels.
I've got two choices. You want my choices, Joe? Will that help?
Sure.
Bobby Dernier, the old daily double.
Yeah.
With the Cubs and Jody Davis and those guys in the early 80s. And Eric Young.
Yes, sometimes Y can be a vowel.
Yes. Or a question. Full count for BJ Upton. And you'll be saying why a lot when you go back and look at the tape of this game, John.
Well, the good thing is I never listened to any of them. If I want to.
This might be one you want to check out.
The payoff is caught on a miss. Hamill strikes out Upton for the 2nd time. 2 up, 2 men down. Here's Andrelton Simmons.
The Cubs have struck out 7 times tonight. The Braves have struck out 5. The Cubs have struck out just a notch more than the Braves. Each team in the 9-point-something category.
But a low-scoring game, I think, exactly what we expected to see.
Yeah.
The way the Braves are swinging the bats, and the Cubs are swinging the bats poorly as well, and the way Hamill and Teheran are pitching. Both guys are having good starts. Andrelton is flied out, and he's grounded out to 2nd. He's 0 for 2 in the game.
Last year, even though the team the Braves had struck out a lot, they did get a lot of walks. They were able to get on base. They're not walking this year, so they're still striking out.
Fly ball to left. Kalish says he's got it, and he does. 3 up, 3 down in the Atlanta 6th. 2-1 Braves lead. I'm done. lead 2-1. Julio Teheran is dealing.
Oh, my least favorite card on the left. But on the right, the error card, of which my stats were on the back. And of course, my name's on the front, but that's not my picture. I told Glad those were the best stats he had ever had at that time. And he said, yeah, but it's the best looking you've ever been at the same time. And unfortunately, in the world of cards, they made too many of those errors, or it would be worth a little bit more.
You've got a few of those, don't you?
Yeah, yeah. You always look for those error cards, and that happened to be a pretty cool one.
Where's the stash, dude?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to tell you guys the other day. I was not doing too well and decided to shave what little I had off. And then they took a picture of me. Can't get it out of circulation.
This is Ryan Kalish leading off the 7th inning for the Cubs. Boy, Julio Teheran is pitching a beauty tonight. Pitching John Smoltz kind of game. A lot of strikeouts, only 1 hit. And Kalish skies one toward left, where Justin Upton will gather it in. He'll put it away for out number 1.
I got to say this. I don't know if too many people have had back-to-back starts where they've only pitched out of the stretch once or maybe twice. I know he walked somebody, questionable walk. He was on the stretch. Last game, he gave up 3 solo home runs. I mean, it's really incredible, and he got a loss, which is even more incredible. So he's on a nice roll, and what better way to have 2 games where normally you pitch out of the stretch quite a bit, and he hasn't.
This is a dangerous part of the lineup, though, with Rizzo up there. He's got home run power, 7 of them. But tonight he's 0 for 2 with a strikeout. Teheran has set down 13 straight men. It's his 7th game with 8 or more strikeouts in his career. And he's thrown strike 1 to 10 of the last, make that 8 of the last 11 hitters.
He's brought along his changeup really nice tonight. He's thrown more of those than I've seen in a while, and really getting the hitters off balance when he hasn't had the early count advantage with the fastballs.
Into shallow right. Pena had Rizzo played perfectly as the rover. And a long look into the Braves dugout to say, hey, you can't defend me like that. But it worked out perfectly. 2 outs. And time for our cold hard facts, brought to you by Frostbrewed Coors Light.
Quality starts to begin a season. These are consecutive starts. Greg Maddux had 16 in a row to start the '94 season. Jair Jurgens, Tim Hudson, and there's Julio Teheran, who has his ongoing coming into tonight's game. Ron Glavine 3 different times with 7.
Castro swings the first pitch. It'll be a very easy inning for Julio Teheran. 15 up, 15 down. 7th inning stretch in Atlanta. Let's get some runs where the Braves lead by 1. Cracker Jacks. I mean, outstanding camera work tonight, where the Braves tried to extend it. their 1-run lead. All year long, Braves baseball is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. The right stuff, low price every day.
And it's now time for you to tweet your photo using hashtag SouthFanPhoto for a chance to have it shown in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by AT&T.
Julio can help himself. He'll bat first, then Pena, then Jason Hayward. And we're back out there for the Cubs. He's pitched well, too. What do we say about Tehran? What have we said about Alex Wood? It's tough to get beat with a solo homer. It's not quite the case for Hamill, but he's only been supported by a solo homer tonight. It's the only hit the Cubs have. So he trails by a run at the 102 pitch mark. Saw that shot of Alex Wood sitting in the Braves bullpen. That's the story of the night tonight. Gonzalez announced that for now Alex Wood will be in the Braves bullpen. Aaron Harang will get the start for the Braves instead of Alex Wood in this series. Flip the first in time, retires to line one out.
I'm saddened for Alex Wood. I mean, I'd be very sad if he had to sit down or something. So he's still in the club, will have an opportunity to pitch and have an opportunity to get back in the rotation. But what I feel bad for him is that his numbers are skewed. He's 2-5, but he has an ERA of an even 3. He's pitched so well and victimized by lack of run support. Bad luck having to face Jose Fernandez twice in 2 consecutive starts. So it's not like he's being demoted. It's just that they don't want 6 starters.
And there's a need down there. The Braves.
There is definitely a need.
We're just carrying one left-handed pitcher, and that was Luis Avilan down there. And let's be honest, it has been a rough start to the season for Avilan. Pena drives one toward right center field. Schuerholz says he's got it. He does. That is the second out of the inning. I don't think it's fair to call this a demotion for Alex, but Tom, we've got 6 guys for 5 spots, and there's a need, right?
Yeah, there's a need. He's comfortable there and made 20 appearances out of the bullpen last season, but there's another issue at play. He's on pace right now for 200 innings pitched. The club wants to limit him to 170 or 180 innings. He said, Alex told me, he said, I don't look at it as an innings limit. But then Freddie Gonzalez later this afternoon said it's one way we can control his innings.
Well, and I'll tell you, those are the philosophies that exist today. And for that reason, I think it was the natural move. I was going to say just before that, I think he's going to follow the track that Chris Medlin had and where he became very valuable.
Hayward to left. Another 2-out hit for the Braves. His first of the night.
It's not the perfect choice for the player, but as you said, Joe, he's still on the team. He's going to contribute at a high level. And as long as you keep mentally as best you can for a young player, he doesn't have much to go from. And don't allow it to be a distraction. You'll be able to pick it up. I believe he will start sometime soon. And at this point during in the season, I really believe that. I think he's, for one reason or another, we don't know how the season is going to play out, but I think he's going to be a starter again.
And as pitching poor as a bunch of teams are with injuries or lack of success, I mean, knowing that the Braves have an excess, there may be some teams that call and want to talk to Frank about maybe acquiring one of them, and maybe they've got a deal that knocks his socks off and says, okay, that's an area that could help our ball club. So it's not a bad situation to be in at all.
Justin Upton hits with 2 outs. He's hit the ball in the air 3 times. It is 0 for 3.
It would be much tougher if he never had done it. And I think that's one advantage he has. He experienced it last year. He can draw from last year and improve on the ways to come in a game, make some adjustments. And he's right. I heard him say, it's more about stuff coming out of the pen than it is setting up a hitter, and you train yourself to go through a lineup 3 and 4 times. And now he'll condense it down to the role that he'll be used in.
Short lead at first for Hayward. Upton awaits in a 1-pitch. And it just missed.
And guys, to clarify, he will be used as a starter next Saturday at St. Louis. The thought is that Alex Wood is available in the bullpen until Wednesday. Wednesday would be a normal day for him to throw on the side. He should be used by then. If not, then he would go back into rest mode and be ready to go Saturday against the Cardinals.
And that's the other consideration. The last off day for the Braves in the month of May is Thursday before we start that series with the Cardinals.
And then I think it's 16 straight days without a day off. Hamill is now at his season high in pitches at 110. And the Cubs do have some action in their pen. Zach Rosso.
1 ball, 1 strike, and that's blocked by Baker.
It's interesting the way scheduling works. You know, we talked about schedules before, and every day there needs to be one, I guess, interleague game played, correct?
Correct.
The Braves have yet to play anybody from the American League at this point.
That's coming. 2 at home, 2 in Boston. Coming up at the end of the month. Bouncing ball to third. Olt, nice pick. High throw, and Rizzo with the stretch at first. And that retired the side. We go to the 8th inning. Tehran leads by a run. The 8th inning, and our friends at Delta Airlines are proud sponsors of the Atlanta Braves.
Hey, Matt Coney, I know you've got the saran wrap and the grapes, but how about some light bulbs? If you've got any extra light bulbs, will you bring them on the charter when we see you Sunday?
Yeah, John, you weren't here this past series with the Cardinals. We got good news. Mac went to the grocery store. He's got the grapes. He's got the saran wrap for the flight, and more importantly, he's laying out each piece of romaine lettuce for the fruit tray, and he's ironing them all. You want to offer him any ironing tips before we get on the plane Sunday?
Yeah, I could certainly help him with that. The greatest myth out there, period.
Come on.
In the history of stories.
We'll explain after the pitch to Nate Schierholtz. By the way, Tehran has set down 15 straight Cubs.
That's where the word fabrication came from.
Oh, fabric, ironing.
So there's no truth to the rumor that as a young pitcher with the Braves, you're in your hotel or wherever you were. You're in a hotel, you're running late, and you ironed your shirt while you were wearing it. That's the story.
I know. Urban legend. Never. It even made Arsenio Hall that year.
Little tapper back to the mound. Look at Teheran. He's feeling frisky tonight. Why not?
And you know, I learned something too late in life where I should have just ran with it and got a big old promotion and commercial out of it. And ran with the story, but no, not at all. It was a one of those portable steamers. You know how you get those little portable steamers, full of water, and you hold up the shirt and you're steaming it? Well, every once in a while, a little water spits out of there. Got me right here, and just underneath the collarbone. Got a little burn mark, a little water blister. How that turned into ironing my shirt while wearing it, I will never know. But that's what was reported, and nobody, including the 16 different interviews that I did, including Roy Firestone, nobody wanted to really believe it. So there you have it for the 28th time.
I like the other story.
I know, most people did. Sports Illustrated had me in a cartoon figure laying on the ironing board while I was ironing myself. Well, you know what? To this day, I don't read any Sports Illustrated.
In protest?
Oh, yeah, that's my single.
Really?
I had nothing but Sports Illustrated covers on my wall as wallpaper. All the pictures I used to like as a kid, that was my bedroom wall. Nothing but Sports Illustrated. Crushed me.
We sure were different. 2 balls and a strike. That's ripped foul. But just think, in today's era, if you'd done that now, you could have been Keith Olbermann's worst person in the sports world. Or something,
guess.
Right?
Yes. Lucky there was not the technology that exists today. Don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. That's what everyone always says, right?
It's worked for my family for years. 2 balls, 2 strikes for Valbuena. And he blew him away with a fastball. He's still humping it up there at 93. That was his 100th pitch. And there is out number 2. Here's our Academy Sports and Outdoors leaderboard. Are the Cubs patient at the plate?
Well, they are 4th in the most pitches they see per at bat, behind Minnesota, Boston, and Cleveland.
Yeah, a lot of times for me that stat can be so misleading. I think it's great to have an approach, but if you don't have a lineup that can do much with the approach, what does it mean? Boston made it kind of work. They had a lot of grind out type bats, but they put a hurting on the baseball too. They made that work.
You can do that, and they were successful doing it because they had guys who could hit behind in the count. They had good hitters.
Right.
But if you're up there taking a lot, seeing a lot of pitches, and you're constantly behind in the count, you're not doing yourself any favor if you are a 220 hitter.
Chris Johnson hugging the line for Mike Oltz. He's the only Cub with a hit. And it left the ballpark in the 3rd inning. Since then, Teheran has been perfect.
You never want to put a potential winning run on the base, but don't lay one in here right here.
It was too high, and that's ball 4. That snaps the streak of 17 straight. And John, to your point earlier tonight, for only the 2nd time in the game now, Teheran has to go to the stretch. That's the 1st time since the 1st inning. Does that have an effect on him here with the Cubs down a run?
I think it only has effect because you start getting to the point where location's more important because of 104 pitches. The fact that he hasn't had many stress pitches today, that's why I look at the pitch total and it doesn't bother me. 104, it's no big deal. But now here in a 2-1 game, when you haven't had a lot of runs to work with, mentally, that's where he's had a year where there's been no breathers. Nothing of the notion where you're like, I got a 3-run lead, I got this, I got that. So you're really more of a mental fatigue in games like this than you are physically.
Maybe this is a silly question, and I don't mean it to be. Was it tougher for you as a young pitcher to pitch in a tight game like this, or with a 6-1 lead?
You know, it's strange as it sounds, you have to learn to pitch with the lead. They say it's easier to pitch with the lead, and yes, it is. It changes the strategy on the other side. But the fact that you never want to feel like you're coasting. So, as I said earlier, in the perfect world, close to the 7th, and then let the guys break it open with 3 or 4 runs. That's the perfect world for a pitcher. And you're seeing, he has pitched outstanding when he's been behind as I said, a 0.5. He's kept every game where you need to keep it. But everyone wants to pitch with the lead. It just naturally feels better, you know. But I think the one thing that everyone misleads is, oh, just pitch like it's 1-0. Well, when it's 6-0, it's hard to think that it's 1-0. You can go with that theory all you want. But
bouncing ball to second. Pena's got it. The flip to Simmons at the bag is in time, and Teheran has pitched a beauty. He's firing a one-hitter at the Cubs. He leads 2-1 and looks for some 8th inning insurance with big batter Freddie Freeman set to lead things off the Braves. About this job is watching young boys become major league men, and another step towards that for Julio Teheran, who has his 3rd career one-hit game tonight.
Yeah, it's just been outstanding to watch, and I think the sky is so big here for this kid in the future, and you're seeing it right before your own eyes.
Well, we told you this would be a well-pitched series. Tonight's game has been, and fellas, we expect the same tomorrow. Here are your Chevron probable starters for game 2.
Well, one's 0-3 and the other one's 3-0. The 0-3 guy has an ERA of 1.62, which is better than the 3-0 guy. But the 0-3 guy is capable of firing a shutout anytime he goes out there. Urban Santana's coming off a pushback start because of a bruised thumb. We'll see how he is tomorrow in that start.
Meanwhile, the Cubs will take Jason Hamill down after 7 innings of 7-hit ball. And this is Zach Rosscup, who has yet to give up an earned run out of the Cubs bullpen.
Yeah, he's a lefty with a small little turn in his delivery, and he comes right at you with a smooth 90-mile-an-hour fastball, a quick curve at 78, and a slider with a nice break. So natural delivery can play well.
Little roller right side. Rizzo's got it. Race to the bag, and he'll win it by a step. And there's out number 1. Rosscup was not an original Cub. He was a Tampa Bay Ray. He came over with Matt Garza and outfielder Fernando Perez for Chris Archer, Robinson Chirinos, infielder Huck Ju Lee, Sam Fuld, and Brandon Geyer. That was in January of 2011.
We were talking about the Cubs and their history a little bit earlier, and I started to say at the time, about that time when they had Kerry Wood and Mark Pryor, they had it working. They had a couple of guys to build around. and unfortunately they both broke down. But they have also made some horrendous trades where they've given some people away and got no return on those players. Chris Archer can deal. He has got a great arm.
Well, that's why I've always been confused. I know the prospect of getting somebody for the future, but if you are going to build to win, you have to have Samardzija in your rotation. You have to, unless you can get two of those guys that will pan out over time. But I mean, that's the one thing that I've never understood about the rebuilding of a club and the frustration of a young pitcher who doesn't have the stats to back it up, and he's heard the grumblings of, well, you'll just pitch your way out of here. But that's a dynamic arm. I mean, you don't find many of those.
And the book on the Cubs is they've got some dynamic offensive players coming up through their system. The next year or two, they could have a really power-laden offensive ball club. But if you are to believe all the experts who evaluate farm systems, that is the one weakness that the Cubs are perceived to have, and that is a lack of starting pitching depth. So to your point, yeah, why not keep Samardzija and Hamill rather than trade them away? And a swing and a miss by Gaddis. Ross Cup ends Evans' night at 2 for 4. And 2 men are down for our SunTrust Shining Moment Award winner. That's Chris Johnson.
Boy, a big hit for the Braves, and did they need it. 2 out, nobody on. Freeman single, Gaddis single. Freddie was running on the pitch, so he made it to third. Gaddis went to second on a wild pitch, and Chris came through with what is the decisive hit of the game.
Part of a 2 for 3 night.
And because it was 2 outs, gave I think the only reason Gaddis was able to score, getting that jump immediately.
Sure.
Not that he's super slow, but
normally you got to wait till that ball goes through.
a lot of things that changed, sorry, Joe, in baseball. And I think the one thing you can safely say, you'll never see a pitching staff stay together for 10 years. You just won't. Not with the economics the way they are, not with the obvious movement, trying to get the most out of the least amount of money you can.
I think you're right. No, I was just going to say, if you still have that big flag football game that you usually have in the offseason, I think Samardzija probably could have been a starter for one of your teams.
No doubt. I'd have got him the ball a lot. I was quarterback, Joe.
In the air to center field. That'll drop for Chris. He didn't hit it hard, but it was perfectly placed, and he's got a 3-hit ball game. Chris was 5 for 24 before tonight's play. He's got 3 hits in game 1 against Chicago.
And he's been through some stretches like this where he's just kind of been piddling around, you know, 5 for 25, 5 for 30, and then all of a sudden 3 for 3 or 3 for 4, and then kind of slides back again. So maybe tonight this is the start of a good run for him.
Rick Renteria is not going to let Roscup face B.J. Upton. He's going to make a double switch and bring in a right-hander from his bullpen to face the Braves center fielder. It's Chris Coghlan, who was on deck when the Cubs hit in the 8th. We know him well from his days with the Marlins. He's now a Cub. We'll tell you who the new Chicago pitcher will be as the Braves threaten in the home 8th, trying to extend a 2-1 lead. fans, we invite you to celebrate Sundays at Turner Field with your family. Take part in great activities like the Alumni Sunday autograph sessions, kids run the bases, and more. You can save 38% off your tickets only at Braves.com/Sunday.
And as promised earlier in the game, we have the AT&T fan photo of the game. Tweet your photo to #SouthFanPhoto for a chance to be shown in an upcoming game broadcast. Brought to you by AT&T.
Hector Rondon is the new pitcher for the Cubs. He is one hard thrower. He can get it up there around 98 miles an hour. One of the few guys in their bullpen that's done a good job for them this year. And since they're not scoring many runs this year either, they desperately need to hold the Braves right here.
We got wholesale changes defensively for the Cubs. Rick Renteria moved about half his team to a different position. We'll get you caught up with that in a second. As Rondon, who for now is the Cubs closer, works the 8th inning. Johnson's running. The pitch is strike. The throw to second way late. And Chris Johnson has his first stolen base of the year.
I love it.
And the 20th for the Braves this season.
I love it. You don't expect Chris to be running. They weren't paying attention to him. He timed his jump perfectly. He was already leaning.
Well, Joe, this is the long arm delivery that you liked of Hamlin. He has the same one with a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. With that, takes a long time to get to home, and you can take advantage of him on the bases. But when he stays tall, that ball just explodes out of his hand. Sliders also to complement it.
But the problem for the Cubs is, here we are, May 9th. As a team, Chicago has had 8 save opportunities all year. 8.
It's a test for a first-year manager.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Upton, and the slider erased him, and that retires the side. Braves got a 2-out hit from Chris Johnson. They have 8 hits in total, and we go to the 9th inning. Craig Kimbrell's had more than 8 save chances this year. He'll try to finish off Chicago in the 9th inning tonight, as he will come on and face the 9. The 9th inning, and Craig Kimbrell is coming on for Atlanta. First, we invite you to get 33% off food and concessions at the ballpark when you buy a 2014 Braves season ticket package. They're available for as low as $183 a seat. Go to Braves.com or call 404-577-9100 for details. Smoltzy's closing in on you.
And it's going to be the old Linda Ronstadt blow by me too, which I believe will be double. I think he's a 300+ for sure and beyond save guy.
His first Cub to face is Chris Coghlan. And this is what we're talking about. He's 6 away from matching your record of 154 in Braves history.
Well, you know, I was talking with the beat writer earlier about you could see guys coming. You could see Mariano Rivera when he was setting up for John Wetland and the tutelage that was taking place there. You knew Mariano was going to be nasty. You could see this when he was under Wagner for the time that he was here, and the lefty, they were kind of similar, really. Small guys with power bodies and power arms. It was just a matter of time when he was given the reins, and he is fun to watch.
Unless you're hitting. And Coghlan bounced one past the Braves on deck circle foul.
But we've seen a lot of guys that were the apprentice who, when they got the job as the full-time closer, couldn't take it.
Right.
I mean, they mentally just it didn't work for them. They were better off being the apprentice. He has jumped in with both feet from the first opportunity.
And he just missed to Coghlan, who was a non-tendered player by the Marlins last December.
Yeah, former Rookie of the Year, and actually was not in the big leagues with the Cubs. He just got called up a few days ago.
That's high. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
That's the pitch right there, though, that's made him the legitimate closer that he is. He's got a power curveball that's unhittable. But the command of his fastball earlier in his career, that would get him a little trouble. And now he's able to throw his fastball primarily where he wants to, and that puts the hitter on notice. He cannot get to 2 strikes.
Ground ball to right by Coghlan. I was just about to say, what makes this guy such a dangerous hitter, he's a real tough customer to strike out. Coming into this season, Coghlan with just 265 strikeouts and over 1,500 big league plate appearances. And he represents the tying run. That is the second Cub hit and the first for them since the 3rd inning. So back to the top we go, and Emilio Bonifacio, here is our AT&T Uverse trivia question. He's 3rd in the league with 11 steals. Name the last Cub to lead the National League in steals.
I'll go with your guy Dernier, Bob Dernier.
I'm sticking with my guns. I don't mind being wrong.
And I will
This is all for the team.
Who did you say again?
Jerome Walton.
Jerome Walton. All right, I'll say Eric Young, from second baseman. Do we get it?
No.
What? 17 stolen bases in 1939?
That was what they called the dead base era.
Somebody's not happy me getting 2 right, I can tell you that.
Well, evil people who aren't here had a hand in that trivia question. I promise you that.
Third base coach is Gary Jones for the Cubs. Got to be happy for him too. He's been a career minor league coach and manager, mostly in the Padres organization, where Renteria knew him, and getting an opportunity for the first time to work in the big leagues.
Braves have to be careful of a Bonifacio bunt. Coghlan draws a throw at first. Things a little dicey in the 9th. Leadoff hit for the Cubs. Bonifacio, Kalish, and then Rizzo lurking for Chicago. And that missed high. 1 ball, 1 strike. In Kimbrel's career against the Cubs, he's struck out 13 men in 7 lifetime innings. He's a strike away from adding to that total as Bonifacio is late on a 96-mile-an-hour fastball.
There are going to be games in the 9th inning where all he needs is a fastball. It's easier said than done, but his fastball is so good that his combination of the 2 pitches is what makes it difficult. But knowing when you can throw a lot of fastballs, even in a 1-run game, is what takes you to the next level of playing to your strengths where a hitter feels like you're trying to strike him out. You don't have to always get a strikeout.
Yeah, this wanted that pitch elevated. It was, but not close enough to offer. 2-2. It's a full count.
Well, it's a tough call, but when you're the Cubs and you're sitting in the position you are, do you bank on the hitter being able to recognize a pitch and send the runner? Kimbrel has a slower delivery to home,
especially against a strikeout pitcher.
Three-two pitch. Runners going. It's bounced slowly towards Simmons at short. He'll have one play, and it's to first. Productive out for Bonifacio, and sending the runner saved the Cubs a double play. Or at least a chance for one. Don't know that they would have turned it with Emilio running to first. But now they have the tying runner in scoring position with one out. Kalish is 0 for 2 with a walk.
Never faced Kimbrel.
Line drive left field. That's in for a hit. Here comes Conley right there. Up and bobbles the ball. And the Cubs have tied the game on a single and a missed play in left. And the worst part of it is Kalish moves up to second base, and now he's in scoring position.
That's where the bobble hurts. Chip, he was not going to throw out Chris Coghlan. Coghlan was off to the races. He runs well, and having to charge the ball in towards second base and then throw back to home would have been too much to have a chance at it. But the mistake and what hurts is allowing the go-ahead run to get into scoring position.
So it's a single E7 to tie it up, and now you've got to deal with Rizzo. And he takes the breaking ball for a strike. All right, take us in the head of Craig Kimbrel now.
Well, he's mature enough now in this role to not let all the air out of the balloon. That's the worst feeling in the world to blow a save. Everybody who's ever played this role.
To the right side, big hop for Freeman. And now it's Freddie's turn to outrun the Cubs first baseman to the first base bag. 2 outs.
Fortunately, I was able to do both, and not any losses as a starter compared to any blown save. The starter pitches 8 innings to get the lead, and you know how much it stings and hurts to come in and not credit him with that victory.
Especially when he's thrown a one-hitter over 8 innings.
Early on, I struggled with the blown save, but then I also blew the game. There's 2 distinct things you got to do right here. Keep the game going so that your team will win. It'll soften the blow.
And defensively, if Kimbrel throws that breaking ball in the dirt, Gaddis has got to smother it and keep the go-ahead run at third base. No swing to Castro. 2 balls, no strikes.
Top of the zone for Fox Tracks.
Witters began the game with a tight zone. He's still got one in the ninth. And another appeal to first and another no swing. 3-0.
He's been your best hitter. Got a chance to take the lead here. I think you got to green light him. And as a result, Craig's got to be careful.
And that wasn't close. They pitch around Castro. And now go after Shearholtz. And your point about Starlin Castro is right on target, Joe. In the history of the Cubs franchise, that kid standing at first base has more hits in his first 4 years than any other player to wear the Cubs uniform.
Is that right?
Yeah. No hits tonight, but he keeps the ninth inning alive for Shearholtz, and a game tied now 2-2.
Well, for a guy who'd never faced him before, Kalish really put a good swing on the first pitch he saw for that base hit. And now another left-handed hitter in Shearholtz, who just happens to be 2 for 3 against him in his career, both singles.
The ninth began with a leadoff hit by Chris Coghlan, who's long been a thorn in the Braves' side. Rick Renteria sent the runner with Bonifacio up on a full count. He grounded out to short. That got Coghlan to second. Kalish the hit and the error tied the game. Now a 2-out walk to Castro. And a breaking ball strike to Nate Shearholtz. Ground ball, foul at third. 0-2. Rick Renteria pulled some nifty strings in the ninth to give the Cubs a chance to tie it. They've done that. Kimbrel wants to stop the rally right here. It's an 0-2 count. Slow ground ball out to second, and the throw to first is in time, and that'll retire the side. The Cubs get a run, 2 hits, a costly error, and strand a pair in the ninth. 2-2 is your score. Bottom part of the Braves order coming up. The Cubs to tie the game in the top of the ninth. Here's our Georgia Power game summary.
Hamill gets off the hook. Julio Teheran gives up 1 hit over 8 innings for 1 run and comes out with a no decision again. Chris Johnson has had a big night, 3 hits. See if the Braves can push one across here in the bottom half of the inning.
Andrelton Simmons will lead it off. He's 0 for 3. Remember now, when Kimbrel came in to pitch the 9th, Freddie Gonzalez didn't double switch. He had Kimbrel in the 8th spot. That spot is due next on the lineup card. Which means Ryan Doumit grabs a bat and he'll stand on deck.
Yeah, no reason to really double switch. Kimbrel's not going to go 2 innings anyways, and certainly 90-some% success rate at closing out games.
So 2 balls, no strikes for the Braves shortstop Andrelton Simmons, and he launches one out of play foul.
You were talking about the literal devastation of blowing a save versus losing a start, losing a game as a starter. That's right there on the face of Craig Kimbrel. It's just,
yeah, it stings. I mean, there's no word to describe it. And I know this game gets real complicated at times, but to simplify it does you the best service for the long haul of your career. Certainly having no memory and forgetting these games is just as important as having the best 2 pitches in the game, which he does. And I used to think, just in my limited role of doing it and learning on the fly, if you will, if you never blew 2 in a row, you never talked about it. Like you never talked about getting in a slump. You know how a hitter gets in a slump, a pitcher gets in. So you made it that next time you go out there. And I think, fortunately, I don't know if I don't think I ever blew 2 in a row, but I made that such a mission. And the other thing is, because I've been a starter for so long, I never wanted to blow a starter's win. Most of the games, if not all the games that I blew, were in the hands of a previous reliever. Not that it makes it any better, but you know how hard it is to work that long to try and get that win.
Bouncing ball, foul to third. And Valbuena with a backhand stab in foul territory, full count.
So the bottom line is the great closers in the game have the best or the worst memories. It's just the way it is, you know. You learn to just 24-hour rule. By the time you get back to the park, or by the time your time comes to pitch, it has to be gone.
Blazing fastball got Simmons. Rondon has back-to-back strikeouts. That's the first out in the Atlanta 9th. And it will be Ryan Doumit for Craig Kimbrel.
Alex Wood is up in the pen again.
Another good way to get through the frustration of the closer is you really can only work out after a game. It's longer nights, so you take out that aggression a little bit and treadmill and do some of your things you have to do. And every once in a while, going home on 85, roll down the windows and yell just to get it out of your system.
So for all those years, on the rare occasion that you'd have a bad night, people thought that was a deer whistle.
Yeah.
So now this game turns back to the Braves offense. What's done is done on the mound. The Braves, if they want to win this game, have to find a way to score another run. Doumit quickly behind. No balls, 2 strikes. Doumit 3 out of 15 as a pinch hitter.
All the hits tonight are bunched in the middle. 3, 4, and 5 guys have all the hits, with the exception of 1. Jason Hayward lined 1 for a base hit his last time up. He's 1 for 4.
What they did off of Kimbrel, you have to do. You have to pick your spots and let his power and go the other way. You can't have big swings. You can't try to go deep. he took a curveball and just kind of dropped the head and pulled it for a leadoff hit, and then the go-ahead or the tying hit was just a slap it the other way on a 96, 97-mile-an-hour fastball.
Pitch of decision for Ryan Domit now with Ramiro Pena on deck. And that's bounced foul and out of play. They're underway in San Diego. Marlins and Padres scoreless in the second inning. The Nationals trail Oakland 1-0 in the top of the second. Those are the clubs directly ahead of the Braves in the East. National League Finals tonight. Pirates beat the Cardinals 6-4. Reds beat the Rockies 4-3. The Phillies lead the Mets 2-1. That game's in the 8th inning in New York. And the Yankees 4, Milwaukee 2 in the 7th. Swing and a miss by Domit. 3 straight strikeouts for Rondon. 2 outs.
Doing it mostly with fastballs. He's mixed in a slider, but keeping the ball down for the most part. He's got the 3-2 on both Simmons and Domit. He struck him out swinging on fastballs.
Walks have been the big problem for the Cubs bullpen so far this season. Rondon hasn't allowed any contact. He struck out the first 3 hitters he's faced. Coming into play tonight, the Cubs bullpen has allowed 49 walks in 99 innings. Their starters just 58 walks in 200 innings. No swing, 2 balls, no strikes. We've seen Pena turn on a good live fastball and end the game with a home run stroke. This would be a perfect spot for it in the 9th.
Something down.
See, 2-0, you can understand that approach and that kind of swing. But with 2 strikes, you're seeing a lot of those swings too, where it's big long swings trying to still do the same things as a 2-0 count.
Yeah, and trying to swing as hard as Anderson did. Swing as hard as he's throwing.
Oh, what did you say earlier tonight, Joe? These clubs average about 9 strikeouts per team.
Yes.
They got 9 Cubs have struck out. 8 Braves have struck out. Like that, 9 Braves have struck out. So that's where we are.
Phew, thought I needed a white out again.
Sharply hit to second. A nice pickup by Bonifacio. Pena hit it hard, but the Braves are retired in the 9th. And we've got free baseball in Atlanta. Cubs 2, Braves 2.
Alex Wood now on the mound for the Braves. That's right. Alex Wood has been moved to the bullpen for a variety of reasons. Here he is talking about his move.
You can kind of leave it all out there when you're out of the pen, going out there for one inning, maybe two at the most. You know, so it's one of those things where when you're starting, I think it's a lot more preparation in terms of the video and the scouting report, because you're going through lineups, seeing guys 2, 3, 4, sometimes 4 times.
But everything changes in baseball, and while that might have been the plan, you never know how long this game will go. So Alex Wood might have to change his approach here in the 10th.
Good point, Tom. Let's hope he only has to see 3 hitters. That would mean he would have an effective 10th inning, and the Braves would win it in the bottom half. There you see the numbers. I'm not one who says that wins are over or underrated for a starting pitcher, but I think you could make the case that they are for Alex Wood. He's, without question, the best pitcher with 5 losses in the major leagues this year.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, they say that things have a way of evening out, so the only way they could even out for Alex Wood is he could get a 1-inning win, and a few of those to make up for the losses that he's been received over great pitching performances of 7 and 8 innings.
Luis Valbuena leads things off for Chicago here in the 10th. The Cubs pitcher spot is due next. Looks like Junior Lake has grabbed the bat for the Cubs.
I will say the biggest difference is the warm-up. You warm up for a start, you take your time, you throw 50 to 60 pitches or thereabouts. Coming out of the pen, and they'll probably start him a lot in fresh innings, I would imagine, if given the opportunity. You don't throw as many pitches, you don't take your time. You're basically at the mercy of the score and the quickness that you may be called upon.
Well, one advantage, and I mean this without any sarcasm at all, if there's one thing Alex is used to, it's pitching in close games.
Yeah.
John, when you were closing, and I don't know if you remember this or not, but do you have a recollection of how many pitches it would take you to get up to full speed out of the pen?
Yeah, I was a nervous wreck, and I asked somebody to count the first couple times. The first time I got into a save situation was 55 pitches, which was ridiculous.
But it didn't take you that long.
No, and then I learned to do a routine where I would literally go in the hallway, with the exception of a few people that would walk by, that where they hold the dirt outside the bullpen is that tunnel, and I would throw against the wall to loosen up. And I remember a few people walking by and not seeing, they're hearing this pound, pound, pound. It was me throwing the ball against the brick wall so it would come back.
Look out.
And then when my time came, when I knew, you know, it could be anywhere from the 8th to 9th inning, then I had 15 to 20 pitches that I could trust and go out and trust my 8. Of course, I wanted to get out there as soon as I could to get those pitches. But then you develop into a routine. But it was rough the first month.
Little looper into shallow right. That's going to drop for Valbuena. Nice at bat for the Cubs third baseman. He fought off some tough pitches from Wood, and he represents the go-ahead run for Chicago.
That was an excellent at bat.
So it will be Junior Lake. Lake's riding a hot streak. He has 8 hits in his last 24 at bats. And had a 2-run homer Saturday against the Cardinals. Also hit a homer off Adam Wainwright this year.
With the lefty on deck, more apt to see him swing the bat and try to bunt him over, unless they pinch hit for Baker.
Like the man that once wore number 21, Lake was thinking about a Sammy Sosa-like homer.
That may be one of the reasons they're not using Darwin Barney here. what you just said, John, with a lefty on deck. And their other catcher is still available. But if they wanted to bunt him over, Darwin Barney would have been a perfect choice here.
Unlike many in the Cub lineup, Lake is a homegrown Cub. They signed him as an undrafted free agent in 2007. And the only rookie in the National League with more hits after the All-Star break than Junior Lake was Christian Yelich of the Marlins last season. First big league game was July 19th. He went 3 for 4. And he had hits in his first 7 big league games. That's a nice way to break into the bigs. 1 ball, 1 strike. Breaking ball. Advantageous for Wood being a starter. It'll have more than 2 pitches sharp out of the bullpen.
Yeah,
just to start maybe.
Yeah, and that comes more with routine. You know, I think with the gap of time that he'll have whenever he's in this role, it may affect some of those pitches. You may have to condense it, like he said, more to stuff than set up stuff.
Nothing wrong with that pitch. Lake twisted himself into a knot and struck out.
This is just really good under the hands of the right-hander, making it look like a fastball and then a sharp break down.
So now it's lefty-lefty with John Baker. Wellington Castillo is the other Cubs catcher on the roster. They only carry 2 of them.
Baker started tonight because he's kind of the Jason Hamill guy. Whenever Hamill starts, he catches him. I thought at first it probably was because of their long game last night and late arrival that they needed to give Castillo a rest, but it was just their routine.
The way they work together, you can understand why they keep that pairing together. Hamill was very impressive, as was Julio Teheran for the Braves. Their starter will factor in the decision. Fouled straight back, still 0-2.
Yeah, he got away with one there. That one, right idea, but down off the 2 fastballs that he painted away. He left this one right over the middle of the plate. That one could have not come back. Go back out there with the fastball. Painted 2 fastballs to get him at 0-2. He's thrown back-to-back breaking balls. Slowed him down. Yep. Go right back out there.
Ooh. Little high, I suppose. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
It's a great pitch. I'm surprised the hitter laid off of it. Not that it had to be a strike call. It was just the hitting tendency would be to
guard the plate. Well, we had this discussion earlier in the week about how many people have been taking fastballs down the middle. So it's amazing that it keeps happening over and over again. He was willing to take his chance there on that fastball. Baker was.
In the air to center. And B.J. Upton will gather that in for the second out. And here's the man that scored the tying run for the Cubs in the 9th, Chris Coghlan. Whether you like the Cubs or not, you hope players like Coghlan can come back and have productive playing time. Brewers fans are hoping it happens after this series. But a kid as talented as he was back in 2009, he really just fell off the table with the Marlins organization. And he did things in the first weeks and months of his big league career that are almost impossible to contemplate, much less do.
He won the Rookie of the Year award and did it in less than half a season.
128 games.
Is that how many he actually got in? Okay.
But
I thought it was less than that.
But he got called up so late. 113 hits in the second half was the eye-popping number, and 47 of those were in August for the Fish that year.
Goodness. Well, I don't know what happened to him, but it was a slippery slope.
One thing that cost him, the pie celebration after a game-winning hit, and he tore up his knee. And never really was the same after that. But he'll get a chance with the Cubs. If he can hit, he'll play. No balls, 2 strikes. That celebration, I believe, was when Freddie Gonzalez was managing the Fish. The 0-2 from Alex. He is cut on missed. Coghlan didn't get a 93-mile-an-hour fastball. Time to win the ball game. Top of the order coming up for Atlanta. Hayward, Upton, and Freddie Freeman. 2-2 your score. Off win in extra innings is with some Jack Link's beef jerky. Don't you think, fellas? And as we know, Jack Link's sponsors our extra innings. Jack Link's beef jerky. Feed your wild side. We invite you to celebrate Sundays at the ballpark with your family. Don't forget, this Sunday's Mother's Day. Bring Mom out to the ball game, and you can run the bases with her here at Turner Field. And we wrap up the series with the Cubs. All kinds of great activities take place at beautiful Turner Field every home Sunday. You can save 38% off your tickets by visiting us online at Braves.com. Got to work overtime before fireworks tonight. And here's a look at the latest Cub out of the bullpen. It's left-hander Wesley Wright.
Little left-hander that's got a fastball, curveball with a big break, changeup. Fastball can be sneaky, but his fastball is usually a show pitch.
Braves have seen him a lot when he was with Houston.
Cubs signed him to a 1-year deal. And he was originally a Dodger. Astros signed him as a Rule 5 pick. After the 2007 season, pitched in 71 games in 2008, and just kept getting better and better and better, while with Houston and then with Tampa Bay last year.
He's listed at 5'11", 180. I don't think he's quite that tall.
One ball, one strike for Hayward, who looks outside. Jason 1 for 4 tonight. Two left-hand hitters among the first 3 for Atlanta in the 10th. That's why Wright is out there. And Jason rips one out of play, foul, left side, 2-2. Mentioned it earlier tonight. The first swing Jason Hayward took in a major league game was a home run off Carlos Zambrano of the Cubs.
This place was rocking on that deal.
I'd love to see his last swing tonight in the game. Nearly hit it. Full count.
Here's the sneaky little fastball. He lulls you to sleep with other stuff and then kind of zooms one in there at 90. Seems a lot firmer than that to the hitter after seeing sliders and breaking balls.
The breaking ball stayed high. So Wright walks Jason Hayward.
Cardinals send in extra innings.
You know why the game's going to end here, right? I have a general rule. Whatever my scorecard says, the amount of innings that it allows me to do, because then I stop after that. And these printed out scorecards only have 10 innings. I did a game in Boston. They only had 12, and the game went 12 innings the other night. So the game will end.
That's a good sign.
Just letting everybody know. I didn't want to give away the secrets, but I guess I just did.
Yeah.
Tune in.
We'll see. Got his mic. Here's Upton.
I'm going to redo my scorebooks. 7.
7 would be a good start. Wright versus Upton. Hayward is breaking. The throw from Rizzo to second. Hayward beat the wrap and stayed on the back of the toe hole. They had him picked off, and Hayward outran the ball.
Wesley Wright was really slow getting the ball over to first base. Jason had 2 or 3 steps, it seemed like, before Wright even let go of the baseball. I mean, he was halfway to second. And one of the reasons Jason went so far past the bag and barely held on was because he knew that he had to go in hard. Barely kept that toe on there.
So, Joe, take me into the mind of Justin Upton. You know he made the error and left.
It's going to be very simple.
Yeah. Take.
Yeah.
They'll walk him and go lefty-lefty with Freddie Freeman.
I like this for the Braves because Freddie Freeman's swinging a good bat. You put your best hitter in an RBI situation.
What did I tell you earlier about the Cubs bullpen? Lots and lots and lots of walks. This one an intentional pass. It does set up the lefty-lefty matchup with Freeman versus Wright. So you ask, what does Freeman do against left-handed pitching? Freddie's at .278 with 2 homers and 6 RBIs against lefties, and he's only struck out 5 times in 36 at-bats. His bat's coming to life. Let's see if he can make it 8 career walk-off hits. Fast man at seconds, the only runner that really matters in a 2-2 game. Line drive, base hits on the field. Here comes Walker. The throw to plate. Nowhere, and Freeman So many things, fellas, took place in that 10th inning. John, you said Alex Wood could pitch an inning and pick up a win. He will. Freddie Freeman and the Braves cash in on all the walks by the Cubs bullpen. And Tom Hart, Freddie Freeman's bat is coming to life late on this homestand.
Yeah, indeed, Chip. 8th career walk-off. Freddie, you're a mess right now. Just for everybody here and watching on TV, what does it feel like when you're getting mobbed by your teammates?
It's a good feeling. Even though I got water in my eyes, dirt in my ears, dirt down my back, it's always a good feeling.
Justin Upton has walked right in front of me. Yeah. You're a professional hitter. You know the odds, lefty-lefty, have to favor them in some way or another.
Really?
But well, just the stats. But what do you think in that situation?
It excites me. If you saw Justin and I, we were smiling at each other after the 3rd and 4th pitch out for an intentional walk. So, you know, it's just those are the situations that you live for, and especially to walk someone in front of me, it definitely makes me concentrate just a tad bit more.
It's a competitor in you coming out. Does that make you more aggressive? We know you love the first pitch anyway.
Yeah, it kind of makes me mad. You know, I think everybody will, every hitter says that you don't ever want to get intentionally walked to get to. So, you know, you want to just concentrate a little bit more and, you know, make sure you get the good pitch to hit, and you left man out over and I was able to get up the middle.
Congratulations on the payback. Great game.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
All right, Chip, back to you.
Thank you, Tom. Braves walk off in 10, 3-2. Tonight's final score, a much-needed victory as the Braves win the all-important first game of a big weekend set with the Chicago Cubs.